Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. First up, multiple witnesses saw a truck swerving prior to deadly Randolph crash, affidavit says. Arrest affidavit released for Vladimir Sazowski. Newly released paperwork from the investigation into the crash that killed 7 motorcyclists in June in Randolph reveals accounts from several witnesses who saw a pickup truck and trailer swerving prior to the crash. The affidavit for an arrest warrant for Vladimir Sazowski was unsealed by the court Tuesday. He faces 7 counts of negligent homicide in the case. Among the witnesses describing in the document were several members of the Littleton Fire Department who were using a crossover to turn around on the intersection en route to a call for service. That affidavit shows the firefighters told investigators the pickup and trailer seemed to be speeding and drifting into the breakdown lane. One of the firefighters noticed that the black Dodge Ram pickup truck beginning drifting over and throughout that the Dodge Ram could possibly strike their fire truck in the crossover, the affidavit said. In another example contained within the affidavit, a volunteer firefighter who is also a FedEx driver said he saw the pickup cross potentially into the oncoming lane, nearly striking a Jeep. The volunteer firefighter told investigators that he saw the driver of the pickup reaching down toward his left side as it passed the Jeep. Other witnesses, including a family who saw the truck swerving over the double yellow line on 2 occasions. The driver of that family's vehicle commented that he wanted to leave extra distance between their vehicle and the pickup, the affidavit said. The authors of the affidavit noticed that dispatchers received multiple calls about the reckless operating of the pickup truck. According to the affidavit, Sazowski claimed he was trying to retrieve something from the bottom of the center console of the truck and that his attention was taken off the road when he crossed into oncoming traffic and hit the group of motorcyclists head on. In August, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration reported that a toxicology showed Sazowski was positive for an unspecific drug that made him incapable of driving safely when his pickup truck crossed the center yellow line and crashed into motorcyclists. Sazowski also said that he reached for a drink on the passenger side of the truck just before the crash, according to the August report. Following the crash, it emerged that Sazowski had multiple run-ins with the law and that his license should have been revoked prior to the deadly crash. This revelation led to a scandal within the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles, where officials said they found several years' worth of violations reported by other states that never resulted in disciplinary action. Reviews of those documents have led to hundreds of license suspensions and the departure of some RMV officials. Man shot by police in Nashua standoff accused of making threats. Names of officers, man involved in shooting released. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9.
Out the door when it matters most. For more than a decade, he's been right there, everywhere. And when American jobs are on the line, he leads the charge. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast, and we thank you.
We do have some breaking news right now from the Attorney General's office. We now know the name of the person shot by police during a standoff on Hunt Street in Nashua last month. Investigators say William Case threatened one of his neighbors with a rifle on September 19th, triggering an hours-long standoff. Officer John Colangelo eventually shot Case in the upper torso. Officer Matthew Foss also hit Case with a beanbag round. Case was taken to a Boston hospital for treatment. The AG's office will now determine if the officer's use of force was justified.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Rochester man accused of abusing 9-month-old over 4-month period. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Customers will call in or email in and just tell us that man was at the store, and from the beginning of the sale till the delivery, it was a great experience. And as a business owner, that's what we strive for.
Visit us at powellstone.com.
Also breaking at noon, a Rochester man is facing assault charges accused of abusing his 9-month-old child. Police say Matthew Bowden abused the child over several months. The baby was hospitalized with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Bowden is due in court on Thursday.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Conclusion in fatal shooting revised after officers' conduct. AG office says it can no longer conclude shooting justified. The New Hampshire Attorney General's office has amended its conclusion in a review of a police officer's fatal shooting of a man in 2016. The Claremont officer, Ian Kibbe, is no longer with the department. He has been sentenced to community service and ordered not to seek further employment in New Hampshire law enforcement after he was convicted of charges related to falsifying documentation of evidence. As part of its investigation, the Attorney General's office reviewed the circumstances surrounding Kibbe's fatal shooting of Cody LaFont in 2016. Its report concluded Kibbe's actions were justified. No criminal charges were filed against him. Based on review and after considering questions raised about Kibbe's credibility, the officer said it can no longer conclude that Kibbe's actions were justified. It has now concluded it could not disprove Kibbe's self-defense claim. Officials said the evidence still supports the conclusion that Kibbe acted responsibly, but his subsequent conviction undetermined his credibility. Despite the armed conclusion to the shooting investigation, no criminal charges will be filed. Democrat Molly Kelly won't make second run for governor in 2020. 2018 nominee, former state senator, says she remained committed to key family issues. Former state senator Molly Kelly will not be a candidate for governor in 2020, but in the announcement Tuesday, she said she remains committed to issues she championed as the Democrat governor nominee in 2018. And now let's take a look at your U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Tuesday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you for this Tuesday evening. Your Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the red or went down. Your Nasdaq closed in the red or went down. S&P 500 closed in the red or went down. Gold closed in the green and went up. Oil closed in the red and went down. U.S. 10-year closed in the red and went down. Euro/USD closed in the green and went up. And VIX closed in the red and went down. Dow drops more than 300 points after weakest manufacturing reading in 10 years. Stocks dropped on Tuesday, the first trading day of the fourth quarter, as disappointing manufacturing data stoked worries over the U.S. economy. Pompeo was on call with Trump, Ukrainian president. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
The impeachment net is getting wider right now. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was on that president's phone call with Ukraine. The House has given him a Friday deadline to turn over documents. The president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, is also facing a new subpoena in the impeachment inquiry. Attorney General William Barr has traveled overseas to ask foreign governments to help investigate the origins of the Russia investigation. And all this as President Trump is targeting his accusers, hoping to reveal the whistleblower's identity.
Our senior congressional correspondent, Mary Bruce, starts us off from Capitol Hill. She has all the latest and all that. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Robin. Well, this impeachment inquiry has only been underway for a week, but it is swiftly gaining momentum. Democrats are now zeroing in on some of the president's closest allies, as this morning there are now new questions about whether the president may have used his office for political gain. This morning, the pressure is heating up on President Trump's inner circle. ABC News has learned that Trump's Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, was listening in on that July phone call between Trump and the Ukrainian president, the call at the center of the impeachment inquiry. The revelation comes after Pompeo told our Martha Raddatz he didn't know about the whistleblower report of that call.
And I want to turn to this whistleblower complaint, Mr. Secretary. The complaint involving the president and a phone call with a foreign leader to the director of National Intelligence Inspector General. What do you know about those conversations?
So you just gave me a report about a high-seek whistleblower campaign, none of which I've seen.
Congressional investigators have already subpoenaed Pompeo for documents amid questions about the State Department's role and whether the agency gave instructions to the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani.
To the best of my knowledge, and from what I've seen so far, each of the actions that were undertaken by State Department officials was entirely appropriate.
Democrats also issuing a subpoena Monday to Giuliani, seeking documents about his efforts to push Ukraine to investigate Trump's political rivals. Overnight, Giuliani not sure if he'll comply.
I don't know. I'm weighing the alternatives. I'll kind of like go through it. I'll get all my evidence together. I'll get my charts.
And while the impeachment inquiry is squarely focused on Trump's call to the president of Ukraine, this morning there are new questions about whether the president has used his office for personal political gain in other instances too. ABC News confirming the president recently asked the Australian Prime Minister to help his Attorney General, Bill Barr, dig into the origins of the Mueller investigation, which Trump has long claimed was a political hit job, a theory widely debunked by the U.S. intelligence community. In a statement, the White House says the DOJ simply requested that the president provide introductions to facilitate that ongoing inquiry, and he did so. That's all. And we've learned Barr himself was in Italy just last week meeting with senior officials there. That trip also part of the Justice Department's ongoing investigation of the Mueller probe. Democrats are not happy about it.
The Attorney General really is functioning more as the president's personal attorney than as the chief law enforcement officer of the United States.
Now, as Democrats ramp up their investigation, the president is ramping up his attacks against the whistleblower. Trump says he deserves to meet his accuser, but the whistleblower's attorney says that his client is entitled to anonymity and that retaliating against this person would be a violation of federal law. George.
Okay, Mary, thanks.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. Good night, everyone, and bye.